Once upon a time, in the land of turnips and jam, there was a girl named Melissa who found her own dance and grew up to become a flute maker. And she would travel from town to town making flutes for everyone until she came to one town and she said, "I can make flutes." And everybody said, "Get out. We don't want you here. The last flute maker drowned our friend William." And Marissa was surprised. She was in shock. How could a flute maker? How could you drown a man named William, or any man for that matter, regardless of their name? And the townspeople were not willing to speak to her, but it was her job. It was her life's goal to make people flutes so that they could find their own songs without having to dig holes in their aunt and uncle's farm. So Marissa went to the woods that surrounded that town, and she set up her tent and she lit a campfire, and she made certain to follow all safety precautions so that the fire didn't spread and burn down the forest. And she thought to herself, how do I convince this village? How do I convince them? Oh, my feet are in this picture. How do I convince them that I should be trusted to make their flutes? And that night she had a dream. And in that dream, she was walking through a forest, much like the one that she had set up her camp in. And a fox came upon her as she was walking. And the fox told her, "Nobody likes flutes anymore. Everybody's into tubas." And then the fox ran away. And she kept walking. She was confused. And a little farther down, a wolf came upon her. And the wolf said to her, "Nobody likes flutes anymore. Everybody plays the saxophone." And then the wolf ran away. And Marissa was very confused. And she kept on walking, and she came across a bear. And the bear said to her, "Nobody plays the flute anymore. Everybody plays electric guitar." And then Marissa woke up. What was that dream? What's an electric guitar? Marissa had never heard of such a thing. But surely people couldn't be finished with flutes entirely. Certainly flutes must still have their place somewhere in society. But the dream must have meant something. So Marissa woke up, looked at the ashes from her campfire from the previous night, and started making herself some breakfast. And she started making a tuba. She'd never done that before, but she'd made a lot of flutes, and a lot of the skills transferred over from flute to tuba. It's a lot of metalworking and a lot of getting the pitch correct, and eventually she had a tuba, and she went to the town, and everybody said, "Hey, aren't you the flute maker that we kicked out yesterday?" And she said, "No. I'm a tuba maker." And she presented them with a tuba. And he said, "Well, you're not going to drown anybody, are you?" And she said, No. Flute makers are the people who drown people. I just make tubas. Here, have this tuba." And the mayor of the town took the tuba and started playing it. And she was really good. And everybody was surprised because nobody in the town had played the tuba before. And then Marissa thought about the saxophone and the electric guitar, but they didn't seem relevant to this story. The tuba seemed to be sufficient. and everybody welcomed her. She made tubas for everybody in the town, and she thought, well, maybe sometime in the future there'll be a story that involves a saxophone or an electric guitar. But this one is good enough with just a tuba.